Hello everyone! Today we'll be taking a look at the movie called Hearty, Paws, released in the year 2006. At the start of the movie, we are shown an 11-year-old boy named Chan-Yi. At dawn, he secretly sneaks inside a mansion and steals a little puppy from there. Following this, he brings the dog to his house and places it near his younger sister, So-Yi. Turns out that it is her 6th birthday, and when she wakes up, she is overjoyed to find the little dog. Later, it is revealed that the two are inseparable as they have no one else in their lives. Their father died long ago, and their mother abandoned them a few years back, leaving them alone and helpless. Their uncle and aunt have been giving them money for the necessary provisions, but little Chan-Yi is responsible for looking after himself and his sister. In the next scene, So-Yi, who is in love with her pet, starts taking care of him. She names him Hearty and spends all her time with him, playing, sleeping, and even eating with him. Time passes by and Hearty becomes an adult, and with this, their bond becomes even stronger. Despite having a lot of problems in their lives, the three become extremely close. Whenever So-Yi is in trouble and Chan-Yi scolds her, she remembers her mother. She still believes that her mother will return someday and take care of them, like she did in the past. In reality, their mother will never return, but Chan-Yi doesn't have the heart to break the news to his sister. Chan-Yi goes to school every day, and while he is away, their aunt looks after little So-Yi for some time. However, it is Hearty who always accompanies her wherever she goes. The duo waits for Chan-Yi at the bus stop every day and spends their time playing and singing. One day, Chan-Yi doesn't arrive, and this worries the little girl. After a bit of waiting, he finally shows up with an ice cream in his hand. Turns out that he used all his money to buy ice cream for his sister, hence he couldn't afford the bus fare. Despite her brother's sacrifice, little So-Yi starts crying as the ice cream is melted and throws it away. Seeing this, Hearty cheers her up by getting his face stuck in the plastic bag. Witnessing this, So-Yi and Chan-Yi both start laughing, and the trio head home happily. The following day, while Chan-Yi is with his aunt, she reveals that she, along with her husband, will be moving to a different city. With a heavy heart, she further mentions that she cannot take the children with them, as they don't have enough money. On the contrary, Chan-Yi's uncle directly tells him to go to an orphanage for the sake of his sister. Hearing this, the little boy becomes upset and storms away, mentioning that they are not orphans. The aunt follows him out and promises to send them money every month. She also hands him his mother's address before departing away. Elsewhere at home, So-Yi and Hearty play the entire day. In the evening, they follow their usual routine and wait for Chan-Yi at the bus station, but he doesn't arrive. After an agonizing wait, he finally arrives, and seeing him, little So-Yi immediately starts crying. On their way back home, Chan-Yi inquires about why she was crying, and the little girl responds that she was scared Chan-Yi would leave her, just like her mother did. The next morning, So-Yi somehow finds a paper with their mother's address and becomes happy. She approaches her brother and begs him to take her to their mother. Chan-Yi tries his best to calm her down, but the little girl starts throwing a tantrum. Having had enough, Chan-Yi bluntly reveals that their mother won't be returning home. The little girl still doesn't believe it, as her mother had bought her a bag and asked her to be a good girl before leaving. When she doesn't stop crying, Chan-Yi threatens to leave her in the same fashion like her mother. Hearing this, So-Yi begs him to stay and finally stops crying. Later, Chan-Yi puts his sister to sleep and stays with Hearty for a long time, explaining to him about his problems. Despite being only a dog, Hearty also seems to understand everything and holds his hand in support. The next morning, the trio heads to a nearby frozen lake to skate. While they're having fun, Chan-Yi's stomach suddenly starts churning, and hence, he rushes to the washroom. After he is gone, a kite lands in the middle of the frozen lake, and a curious Hearty goes to inspect it. Just then, the ice underneath him breaks, and he falls into the freezing water. Oblivious to what's happening, So-Yi tries to save her beloved dog and unknowingly steps on a thin sheet of ice herself. Chan-Yi also notices this, and just as he rushes to warn his sister, she drops into the lake. Hearty somehow manages to get out, but unfortunately, poor So-Yi passes away. The incident devastates Chan-Yi, as he now has no one to rely on, not even Hearty, because he was the cause of So-Yi's death. He slowly becomes isolated to everyone and falls into depression. He even chases Hearty away, blaming him for his sister's death. One day, Chan-Yi carries his late sister's bag and decides to head to the city to meet his mother. Hearty also tries following him, but an enraged Chan-Yi hurls several stones at him and sends him away. After a long journey by train, he finally reaches the address but finds no one there. After a bit of waiting, his mother finally arrives, but with another man. When the man notices that the woman has a son, he refuses to spend the night with her and storms away. Chan-Yi is delighted to see his mother after a long time, but the woman isn't very pleased. Instead, she reveals that she'll be heading to the US very soon and that he shouldn't look for her again. Although Chan-Yi wants to disclose about his sister's death, he refrains from doing so as it won't change anything. He still stays the night there, and the next morning, his mother leaves before he can wake up. She leaves some cash in an envelope for him, but Chan-Yi refuses to take it and walks away. Elsewhere, Hearty has also reached the city and has started living like a street dog, stealing food from others. Sadly, he still doesn't understand that So-Yi is dead and gets excited whenever he notices a little girl. In the next scene, while Chan-Yi is on a bus returning home, he notices two kids begging. They reveal that their parents passed away recently, and this forces the adults to give them money. Just then, the girl notices Chan-Yi alone and sad and invites him to join their group. In the evening, the kids take Chan-Yi to their leader named Kang. He is a cunning and evil man who takes advantage of poor orphans who don't have anyone to rely on. Kang claims that he is a good person and he takes care of the children, but in reality, he just makes them beg on the streets and takes their collection at the end of the day. He welcomes Chan-Yi to his group and appoints him as a new beggar. However, Chan-Yi is asked to discard his bag, as it is the rule of the place. With no options left, he goes to a local safe to keep the beloved bag. Just then, Hearty, who is also wandering in the same place, starts barking at him. He tries his best to reach out to his master, but accidentally gets locked inside a fence. When he finally breaks free and rushes out, it's too late as Chan-Yi has already walked away. He, however, immediately recognizes the smell of So-Yi's bag and sleeps the entire night outside her locker. In the next scene, Chan-Yi sets out on his first day at work. He doesn't have to make up fake stories to gain sympathy from the travelers because his emotions are raw. However, his first day goes wrong when some guards start chasing him and his friend, but luckily they manage to escape. Later, while they are heading to another bus stop, they come across a large crowd surrounding a dog. Turns out that the people from the municipal department are there to capture Hearty and put him down. Despite whatever happened in the past, Chan-Yi still has a place in his heart for Hearty and promises the people that the dog belongs to him. After the commotion, Hearty tries to follow him, even after being asked to go away repeatedly. His new friends love the dog and play with him. Hearty seems to recognize that Kang is not a good person. He barks at the man, but Kang takes it as a challenge to discipline him. The next day, Chan-Yi's friends force him to take Hearty along with them to work. She then makes up an emotional story using the dog and earns a lot of money. This eventually persuades Chan-Yi to keep the dog, despite him still being skeptical about it. After a few hours, they stop for lunch and the shop owner gives Hearty an expired carton of milk. This causes him to throw up, making him weak. Chan-Yi pretends not to care, but when no one's watching, he sneakily throws a stone at the shop. Later, while they are on their way back home on a bus, Hearty spots a girl that matches the appearance of So-Yi. He starts barking vigorously, making Chan-Yi realize how much he misses her. Unfortunately, when they hand over the money to Kang, he berates them for earning less. Enraged, he kicks the small girl, but Chan-Yi comes to her rescue and stops Kang. He then belittles the goon for making helpless kids beg. Sadly, the heroism turns out to be foolishness as Kang beats up Chan-Yi badly. Hearty witnesses all this and starts barking at the man while being tied to a pole. As a result, Kang punishes him as well, leaving him unable to stand up. The following day, Kang allows the kids to take a break from work. He asks them to go wherever they please and enjoy the day. They happily go to an amusement park and have fun, unaware that Kang has an ulterior motive. When no kids are around, he brings Hearty out, planning to feed him to his aggressive pet dog, Becky. The barbaric dog assaults Hearty menacingly, rendering him lifeless. Thinking that Hearty is dead, the goons throw him in the trash, but it turns out that he's still alive. The poor dog can hardly open his eyes due to the severe torture he suffered. But even at this time, his thoughts are only filled with the memories that he spent with So-yi. Later, Chan-yi returns home and finds out about what happened to his dog. Terrified, he rushes outside and searches for Hearty in every nook and corner of the neighborhood, but sadly cannot find him. As a result, he gets enraged and attacks Kang, demanding to know where his dog is. Unfortunately, he is easily overpowered and dragged away by Kang, who plans to kill him in the same way he killed Hearty. But as he is about to throw Chan-yi inside the cage, he hears a police siren and stops. It turns out the girl who Chan-yi helped yesterday called the police to save his life. The thugs have to run away while the children are taken to the police station. However, the police cannot do anything to help them other than try to catch the thugs. Later, Chan-yi comes to fetch the bag that he had kept in the locker, but unfortunately bumps into Kang. He is furious at the kid for destroying his source of income and making him a police suspect. He tries to drag him to his car to complete what he had started the previous day. But just then, Hearty arrives and helps his master, chasing Kang away. Enraged, Kang sends his monstrous dog, Becky, after the two. Following this, a lengthy chase ensues between the two parties, which ends in Becky getting struck by a car and dying. Somewhere else, Chan-yi and Hearty finally get away from the thugs and reunite. Finally, after a long while, the two friends again eat and play together like they used to before everything changed. When it gets dark, Chan-yi starts shivering in the cold, but Hearty puts a newspaper over him to keep him warm. He even steals some food from a nearby shop for his master. Sadly, Hearty starts losing his eyesight because of all the torture he has endured recently. Worried, Chan-yi takes him to a local vet and finds out that the dog is soon going to be blind. Later that day, he hugs the dog and cries for a long time, apologizing for abandoning him. In the meantime, Chan-yi's mother is still in Korea. She visits the Korean embassy to receive a document to finalize her visa. However, upon finding out that her daughter is dead, she is left shocked. She visits the home the children used to live in and cannot help but cry, looking at the picture So-yi made for her a long time ago. Elsewhere, Chan-yi suddenly falls sick and he is rushed to the police station. His loyal dog also follows him, despite being almost blind. Even here, the cunning Kang arrives, and when no one is around, he kidnaps Chan-yi. Hearty notices this and immediately rushes after his master, determined to save him. After a while, Kang takes Chan-yi to an isolated location and places him inside a tank to drown him. Just then, Hearty arrives at the scene and starts barking at Kang. Seeing this, Kang gets enraged and strikes the dog hard with a metal bar. Chan-yi hears the commotion and uses the last of his strength to get up and knock the thug unconscious. He then quickly rushes the dog to a vet, but sadly learns that he will not survive for long because of his grave injuries. Soon, Chan-yi's mother arrives at the place and breaks down, asking for forgiveness. Chan-yi is annoyed at the sight of her, but Hearty subtly asks him to forgive her. Later, Chan-yi leaves with Hearty to their own house. He wants to spend their final moments in the place where they grew up. In the morning, a disoriented and weak Hearty is at the entrance of the house, trying to go somewhere. Chan-yi helps him up and they reach the bus stop, where they have many memories. A while later, Hearty passes away, and Chan-yi is left devastated. A few days later, Chan-yi is with his mother, who has finally made up her mind to live with him. She has been ridden by guilt, but plans to make her son's life good from now on. In the final scene, Chan-yi looks at a picture that his sister drew a long time ago. It shows that the two, along with Hearty and their mother, are living as one happy family.